Hotep, Brother Beniti Marie. And what we're going to talk about, or what we're going to get into today, it's a good topic we've been doing on the radio show the last couple of weeks. We're going to talk about the Pandemonium Mandela and demons of the Black Sun, how to work with that type of energy, how to access it, and it's really going into the inner depths of the abyss of your subconscious mind, because you're actually conjuring up your personal demon. And again, let's get some clarity on that. Like we said on the last class, we ain't talking about demons in the religious sense. That religion identifies with it. As I said on the last class, or the last video that we did a couple weeks ago, the way they spell it, DEMON, that's a religious term, and there is nothing but negativity associated with that definition of that word demon. We go back to the DAEMON in the Greek, and if you research again, as I said, and you find out anything that predates monotheism, the term demon just simply meant a highly genius, intelligent type of being. These demons that we refer to here, especially when dealing with left-hand path information, these could be referred to also as your guardians. These are the most powerful entities and energies that you can work with, because they're the ones that you self-created from when you were a little child to the present. And there's some that you've actually created in your subconscious mind, and you have not even tapped into it yet, or not even accessed it yet on any level. Now, one important thing to understand when working this path, and this is critical, if you're working a spiritual path where it's completely easy to you all the time, I basically just like to say that's another word to simply say it's comfortable, and you're not challenging yourself, then you're not bringing out the best in you. So when working with spirituality, one should always be trying to challenge themselves, go into areas that are unknown, that they may not be familiar with, and master that stuff, because in mastering it, you overcome it, and it just brings out the best in you. So you should always be looking to challenge yourself. It's never about taking the most comfortable or the safest and the easiest convenient route out, because then you don't grow on a spiritual level. We see, obviously, right now, and this is critical, been a lot of shit going on the last 2 weeks, obviously, in the news with a lot of these police shootings. We've had several since the last video that we did here, and now to the point, people, again, as I said, reacting off of pure emotion, and playing right into the hands, for a lack of a better word, of powers that be. Now the question is, how do you protect yourself, as I said before, against all this stuff, or keep yourself grounded from all this stuff? How you do that is simply, accessing your higher spiritual powers, not attacking it first from a physical level. If melanated people would get together on that accord and reenact and reinforce and bring into fruition their spiritual powers and work higher black magic on the powers that be that are causing opposition, things can change. But it starts first and foremost with you. When dealing with the concept of the isolated consciousness, or as we talk about, which is a representation of the Prince of Darkness set, we use that concept, which means the isolated intelligence or the isolated consciousness. First and foremost, you have to control yourself first, and things around you, things affiliated with you. You have to be able to control your environment mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. You can't really affect anything outside of that until you master self first. See, that's the problem. People are constantly trying to react physically to things but having gone in internally. And usually when you react to something, or you get angry about something, or you get so emotional that you react in such an aggressive way, you're seeing a reflection of yourself in that anger, and you're not really focusing on the core and the essence of what's creating that anger. Okay, it's a hard thing to grasp to an extent, but it has to be addressed. Now, as I've said, there's an intent, and I've said this going back to which was probably the beginning to a lot of this stuff escalating. Not the first, but the beginning of them publicizing all these racial police shootings, etc. As there's an intent to captivate your emotions, to instill fear and anger in you, and bottom line, that fear and anger is going to make you react, and not in a positive way. That's going to be productive for your own spiritual growth. Now, the thing that people are not looking at in its context in its entirety, when you're protesting or you're screaming for a revolution, okay, you really need to focus on the intent of what's at the core of your protest, okay? Because after there's all the marching and the protesting in the streets, then what? Because if you're trying to overturn a system, all right, you're saying the system don't work. If you're trying to completely isolate yourself from the system, here's the thing. Let's be 100% real. How many people I'm not saying that there's none, but how many people on a wide scale level can hunt for their own food? Okay, know how to shoot firearms, know how to protect themselves, know martial arts or self-defense, and know how to grow their own food. Okay, not go to the supermarket and buy shit off the shelf, but know how to make or grow their own food. Because if you're gonna rebel and overthrow the system and protest, and you don't know how to do any of those things, then you really need to seriously think of, again, what is at the core of your protest. Because, I hate to say it, you can sit there and throw rocks through windows and protest and march up and down the streets hooting and hollering. When it's all said and done and calms down, it doesn't do a goddamn thing. That's the reality. Okay? So, again, you always got to be focused on what's the intent of any time you set out to do something. Now, the key is first activating your spiritual powers. How you can tap into your, lack of a better word, divine self. It starts there. And it emanates and flows from that point out. Because once you're vibrating on the right frequency, once you're in tune, you can start to affect things. You can do that on an individual level and on a collective level. So the demons of the Black Sun, or the Pandemonium Mandela, let's just get a brief breakdown of that. What is it? All right. Okay, it says, so some excerpts I took here. Okay. It says, beyond time and space, at the heart of existence, there shines a black sun. It is the source of true being, and ever boils and blazes forth in the exuberance of its own ipsety. And through each seed ray of obsidian light that emanates from the black sun, there comes into being a demon. The demons are an unfolding translation and diversification of the essence and influence of the black sun into explicit manifestation. And so each demon has its own unique will, desires, and powers. And the demons together surround the black sun in a mandala of continual blossoming, the court of the black sun. And together the demons form a sovereign company as the masters, not of the cosmos, of the chaosmos. This is pandemonium and the abode of all demons. Okay? Let's stop there for a minute. Now, what this represents, the black sun, okay? Some call it the black flame, which is that gateway to your superconscious, okay? It's where this energy is all activated and resides, and one is able to bring it forth, okay? This is where your true power comes from. Now, when working with, and as I've said on a multitude of levels, when you're working with archetype energies, or what some people call deities, you're focusing on the certain level or consciousness that deity projects. You're working with a lot of symbols that are connected to that energy. And give you an example. As the day we're recording this video, we just had the fall solstice, and one of the deities associated with the fall solstice and dealing with going into another representation of change, you've got the deity Tahuti, which is a great deity to access during the fall solstice. And colors to work and activate that deity, in particular ritual for the fall solstice, would be the color orange, which is a color affiliated with that deity because it represents the symbolic of growth, of change, and vitality. Symbolicism and consciousness that's represented with Tahuti would be knowledge and wisdom. As you know, he is described, or the individual that's symbolic of wisdom and intellect. So when one is trying to enhance their subconscious mind, and one is trying to tap into the superconscious, Tahuti is a great deity to access, especially at this time of the year, if you're connecting it and using some of the astrological signs, the movements of the planet, the equinoxes, and also remember there's that connection also with Tahuti with the moon, because it ties back into the baboon deity. Because remember, this energy is also prominent not just in the solar cycle, but also rules in the lunar cycle. So depending on different positionings of the moon and its effect on the planet, one can tap into high levels of energy with the deity Tahuti, especially right now with the positioning of the planet where it is as it's making its evolution in the solar system. But Tahuti represents that knowledge, that wisdom, that intellect that exists in the subconscious mind. And the 7 principles of Tahuti, which we have talked about a multitude of times, are really the core essence or foundation to really understanding the inner workings of the subconscious mind. Remember, the first principle, all is mental, mental is all. It's something that should resonate with you at all times when trying to assimilate and break down knowledge and information, and especially when you're working spiritual magic, especially black magic. It really puts things into its perspective. So these demons of the black sun, again, the black sun being a representation of the inner abyss of your subconscious mind, or the gateway. Some will use the term the black flame, and the black flame is that doorway or gateway or porthole to the inner workings of your subconscious mind. Now, once you start to activate and work with this energy, you're gonna find out that images, let's per se, things you saw as a kid in your dreams, things you created with your imagination. We all created things with our imagination when we were, a certain age. But some of the things that might have appeared frightening back then, you're gonna find out now there was a reason why they manifested themselves. And even though you may not have understood it and it might appear frightening, you're going to find out now, if you start working with this method, and you're going to start accessing them all over again, and they're going to start revealing themselves to you and what they actually meant. These were demon or guardian beings that have been with you since you were a child. That was that when we were kids and you were sleeping alone in your room, and you felt like there was something in the room, or you thought you saw something sitting in the corner. And we were talking about this on the radio show last night, and you spooked yourself out and got afraid because you thought it was something there to harm you. But anything laying doormat is not there to harm you. You're going to find out a lot of that stuff was there to protect you. And it reveals itself on a multitude of levels, because there's people that have tapped into this science, and I talk with people all the time, work with people all the time, and they'll say, shit, when I started working and accessing my personal demon or demons, I started accessing shit I saw when I was a kid.
it started to manifest itself to me, and wasn't what I thought it was back then. Because remember, when it's hard when you're indoctrinated and you're conditioned. Because remember, even when we're young kids, especially when we get to the age of 7, from 7 on is when we start to develop an imagination. But that imagination usually is corrupted by adults, because most of us came up through religious systems, so we were indoctrinated about the boogeyman and the devil and demons, and so that was all religious indoctrination. And then we were given the fairy tale myths of God and angels and all the ridiculous comical stories in the Bible that just fucking don't make any sense. So once the mind is conditioned in that way, that has a very disturbing and lasting effect, because that is lodged in the subconscious mind when you're programmed from a very early age. So things that go outside of that context of how you were programmed, of course you're going to identify it as something being negative or being evil, because already there's been that mental conditioning, that structure, and you've already been subconsciously programmed that anything that doesn't fit within that structure, is classified as something that's not right or good for you. Okay? So, excuse me. Oh, sorry about that. So, the other term that was used here, when you are actually working, this pandemonium, or the abode of all these demons, they're the masters of your chaosmos. And I said the word chaos, not cosmos, the Greek word for the universe. Okay? Because you're really going to find out when you hear the term, out of chaos and darkness comes order. You have to go back into the chaos and darkness. You have to go back into the origin and the essence to really transform yourself. Because you can't have that order, that balancement, until you go into the chaos and the darkness. Because everything evolves or emerges from that. Out of darkness comes light. Right? The religious texts even tell you that. Right? Even in their Bible says, in the book of John, the very first chapter, and they get fucking religious with it and tell you it's Jesus, but it's metaphorical. It said, light shineth in the darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. Well, that light that shines in that darkness is that intellect that you're not tapping into, that intellect that's deep down in the subconscious mind of who and what you really are. Okay? So you really have to go back into that chaos and into that darkness and not be afraid to go into the inner abyss of your subconscious mind. It's the only way. You have to address everything that you fear, everything that you've been running from, everything, as I said before, that is built up as a child to the present that you may not be aware that's affecting you, just to this very day. The moment that you're listening to this right now. So one has to be able to accept that reality, and not be afraid to face it, because trying to shovel it under the rug and hiding behind a dogma, a philosophy, a religion, or a system, and thinking it's going to go away, it's not. You can fucking pray and meditate all day. You can chant and become a Buddhist or whatever other fluffy thing you think you're going to do, and it's going to mask your bullshit or your real problems that you don't want to address. Believe me, at some point it will surface. And this system, when dealing with left-hand path methodology or being a black adept, this teaches you first and foremost that you have to address your bullshit first before you can be successful on any level spiritually. If you try to avoid that, it just creates blockages and issues for you down the road. So you have to acknowledge issues you got about yourself, shortcomings, problems, areas of improvement. Because if you don't, it just becomes a buildup and it winds up exploding on you. So when working with the Pandemonium Mandela, okay, or another title for these black demons from the Black Sun, would be the masters of the chaosmos. And chaos, which is another form of magic, when working with chaos magic, There's no order in that, and before again you could have order. You need sometimes to submerge yourself in that chaos because it challenges you. When you're submerged in the chaos, it's going to stimulate the intellect. It's going to make you think. It's going to activate your higher powers. You're going to be the one coming up with the solutions. You're the one creating your own personal deity. Like I said, you can work with all of the major archetypes that you know in cultural systems, and that's okay, as long as you're working with the archetype energy that it represents. But when you work with your personal deities, demons, whatever you want to call them, guardians, you're going to find out those are the most powerful deities or energies that you can work with because they're self-created. And then you need to focus on and go back into your mind and really reflect on, you shaped, you molded, you gave these demons, you created them. You gave them your personal touch from the very imagery to what they represent. So now you got to focus on, if your mind created them, your mind is trying to take you to a point or area that you need to focus on. So when some of these personal demons reveal themselves to you, you're going to find out that however you tap into it and get from what it projects, and you will get some type of consciousness that it is projecting. It could be through imagery, it could be through symbolism. Okay? And symbolism is powerful, and I'll give you an example, because sometimes these demons will come forward and they will show you symbols, not symbols that you've ever seen before. And I tell people, if they ever have that experience, that they should write or draw those symbols down, because that's their own personal symbols. That's their own, symbols that can unlock the porthole and the gateway to the black sun. Okay? So once you see this symbol, you're able to actually focus upon it. You're going to find out if you have your own experience and symbols are shown to you, you're able to focus in and zone on that symbol and open that porthole when you're going into, say, astral travel. And you're going to see the connection, and how it opens becomes quick, where you don't really need to do anything but just focus on the particular energy of that particular symbol. Okay? So that's critical and that's key. And when working with that energy, if symbols are revealed to you, you should draw those symbols down. You should write them down, because they're personal messages for you. All right? Let's go on to the next section here. I pulled, just gathered some information here. I'm going to skip around. All right, then it goes on to say, and from the pandemonium, the demons transmit their influence upon earthly life and sensual experience. Together, this sovereign company coordinates plans for becoming of sapient beings, okay, and the realities that will be manifested through the prism of time, space, and matter. For in truth, sapient beings are the personae of demons. Homo sapient beings, us. You're the personification of these same demons that you've been running from, these same demons that you've been hiding from, these same demons that you thought were separate from you are actually you. Okay? Many of these personae dream unknowing of their demonic nature and origin. Some few of them dream awake, if only for a time. The hour has come for more dreamers to awaken to this truth. The better to dream, even greater dreams. These shall be the initiates of the pandemonium. As each initiate becomes more consciously aware of the superconscious dimension of being that is personified by the demon, and as the gifts of the demon are consciously integrated into the worldly persona, a growing understanding and realization of the initiate's essential or true will and unique life and purpose will unfold. I'm going to stop there for a second. So, once you're able to tap into this, okay, you will understand the realization of what your purpose is. You will understand what it is you need to do. It will also make you aware of things that you need to not do. You understand? you will be able to perceive things on a whole different level. You'll be able to look at things on a whole different level. It will unlock, for lack of a better word, the potential. Okay, it'll unlock a limited potential on all levels. Okay. Now, to use the term true will. Now, I want to stress something on that real quick. True will, as opposed to what you think your will is. Okay. Some people confuse, as far as what they want with what they need, and I've said that before a multitude of times. When working this path and accessing this energy, you're going to really find out the statement that I've been saying for a while. It brings about the abrupt change you need. Needs and wants are two different things. This is going to show you what you need, not what you want. Because sometimes what you want isn't always good for you, and it's going to show you that. So that's something one needs to prepare themselves for. Because sometimes one has already shaped their mind and have created their own, what they think in their mind, their own correct ideology. And sometimes when you go through this process, you find out that what you thought in your own little personal spectrum was right or correct, you might start uncovering a lot of inconsistencies in that methodology of thought. Okay? Because when you tap into the inner abyss of your subconscious mind, it brings forth the reality, as it said here, the true purpose or the true will, and brings forth really of who and what you are. So that's important to understand. Okay? As more and more initiates consciously and intentionally affect this process, the demons externalize into fleshly manifestation upon the earth to remanifest their company and execute their plans directly. Earth becomes the pandemonium. So now what this is saying is, once you're able to tap into your subjective realm and make a connection with your personal demons or guardians, you can now bring that into existence on the objective realm. So this now becomes the abode or the Pandemonium Mandela. Now you got to learn to connect the two, because once you are able to bring that connection, that's when you're going to start seeing things start to change for you. That's where you're going to be able to manifest what it is you need to manifest on all levels. It could be financially, it could be in love relationships, it could be whatever it is. You're able now to tap into that power and manifest it. Then you start to see change, and when you start to bring this into your objective realm, it starts clearing away a lot of the bullshit around you that's not necessary, and that includes doing certain things you might be doing. Certain individuals will be cleared out of your path that may not be correct for you. You might be hanging around friends and people that you think have your best interest in mind, or you think that are good for you, and reality kicks in, and you're gonna find out, that that's not the case. So that change comes abruptly. Now, it also talked about, we'll get a little bit into that, and then I want to finish out with calling forth your personal demon. Just a couple of suggestions or techniques one can use in working that energy. It also mentioned the manifestation physically of a sensual part of these demons, and they do manifest themselves sexually too. And as you know, when you work with a bunch of different systems, it could be chaos magic, real sex magic, vampire magic. That energy can be incorporated. They can be summoned individually, or they can be summoned collectively. You can do it by yourself. It can be done with a partner, because there is a sensual aspect to these demons or to this energy, and that can be heightened on a very extreme level when done correctly. I'm not talking about the bullshit fluffy sex magic, tantra and all that and whatever. That's your thing. I'm talking about really activating that spiritual power by way of, per se, the sex force, or as they describe here, through various levels of sensuality. So there's a whole aspect of that can be tapped into. So that's something you connect with once you bring that to the objective realm. And that's one method that one can connect the two, the subjective with the objective, because you're invoking certain energy, certain demons, to bring that into fruition, and it's very powerful. So now the question lies, and I think we'll finish with this. We'll get into this. How does one, call forth their demon? Okay. First, you got to understand there's two. Let's first break down some characteristics of working with this energy, or some things that are connected to it that one should be conscious of. Okay. Okay, it says the essence of a demon is a specific, particularized emanation or ray of the black sun. It unfolds and translates specific powers and potentialities of the black sun into explicit manifestation at the core of your being. You are this demon, which shines in its turn as the black sun of a dynamic inner Mandela of divine human and animal natures, and drives within you like a great witch's sabbath dancing around the central black flame. These elements are the many identities of your subpersonalities and populate your psyche, your soul, and make up the many facets of the mind. So these demons are responsible for creating your nature, for creating your personality, your characteristics. Okay, this is the energy that controls your psyche. You need to understand that, because then it's going to identify why you are who you are, and why you act the way you act, and why you react the way you react. Okay, for the purpose of practical work, the psyche can be divided into three levels or aspects. In addition to the demon, there are also what can be called the familiar and the advocate, and we talked about this on the radio show a couple of weeks ago. This is important. All right, so let's break down the familiar and the advocate before we get into calling forth your personal demon. All right, the familiar is concerned with survival, growth, and general thriving of life force. It controls all of the automatic processes and functions of the physical body, and filters out sensory perceptions so that they do not overwhelm our attention. The familiar actually controls much of daily life, including all of the routine actions that do not require full conscious awareness. All right, so this would describe basically the things you do physically consistently on a daily basis, what governs and controls that. All right. It is also what is sometimes perceived as the inner child, and is the source of emotional feelings, thus also concerned with emotional survival. Additionally, the familiar oversees the part of the mind that stores memories and associations. It then interprets these associations and reacts accordingly when they are stimulated. The center of this intelligence is often perceived as being in the solar plexus, or where the heart is. Okay, because anytime you feel any type of emotion, okay, anytime whether you perceive it as good or bad, painful or joyful, you always feel it in the solar, or the solar plexus, right near the heart. That's where the energy or the emotion emanates, and it's located right by your heart chakra. Okay, and you're going to find out when the heart chakra is in tune with a multitude of vibrations and frequencies, it's able to really tap into and perceive a lot of these demons and personal energy. So that's important to understand that. Okay, now let's talk about the advocate real quick. What we are calling the advocate is equivalent to the human persona or character, and that aspect of being which people normally identify with on a daily basis and consider to be who they are. The advocate exercises the powers of will, reason, imagination, and choice. It sets goals and formulates plans, then acts in accord with those plans. Okay? The demon has been recognized by many cultures and magical systems. Most notably, these include the personal demon, D-A-I-M-O-N, the one we talked about, that the D-A-E-M-O-N comes out of, and then they falsely spell D-E-M-O-N in English. The ancient Greeks, and the equivalent, which just means the equivalent of genius. That's all it means, okay? The center of this intelligence is often perceived as being slightly above the top of the head, though sometimes it is perceived within the heart, okay? So when you're working with these demonic invocations, that's where you're able to, we're gonna finish out with that. That's where you're able to invoke them. most of the time right above, okay, the top of the head, or sometimes you feel it. And as I said earlier, and I was talking about the heart chakra, you can tap into them when you're able to access and deal with that solar plexus part, and the frequencies that emanate from that. Because remember, the reason why there's a connection with the sun and solar, okay, because remember they call this the solar plexus. This is actually where the black sun resides. That's actually a central sun that resides within you, and you're able to tap into it, because that's the sun. When you tap into and emanate, and you're able to invoke those bands, and you can actually, there's a ritual one can do where they can visualize them being an incarnation and incarnating in that black or central sun. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Okay. So, and as the familiar is associated with the subconscious and atavistic levels of the mind, the daemon is the intelligence of the superconscious realm of genius and inspiration. That's where you get that, when you tap into the superconscious, and per se, you're able to astrally travel. You're able to do visualizations. You're able to go through certain things and experiences through meditation. That's how you're able to do it. That's basically what it's describing, okay? Then it goes on to say, I'm going to skip down here. It goes on to say let me skip here. In one sense, the demon is understandable and as an ideal parent or as a motherly, fatherly figure. In another sense, the demon is like an ideal lover. The demon knows both the advocate and the familiar intimately and understands and supports them totally. The demon is the ever-present guide and mentor. It is also the hidden manifester of the plans and patterns that make up your reality. Of course, demons also compromise their own society or company with the realm of pandemonium. So it's talking about here being the true ever-present guide and mentor. And here's something to pay attention to. It is the hidden manifester of the plans and patterns that make up your reality. All right? Let me say that again. It is the hidden manifesto of the plans and patterns that make up your reality. Okay? So that's where your true, or the true origin or essence of your reality comes from. Not all the fictitious external bullshit that you surround yourself with. Not your garbage religion that you think shapes, creates, and makes who and what you are, because that's just an illusion. Okay? That's not a reality. That's just something that, as I said earlier in the beginning, is something that we create to hide from. Okay? Most people get into religions, whether they're conscious of it or not, because it's a crutch to lean on. It's a place to hide. It's a place to avoid all these things that we're talking about tonight. Okay? Because it creates that illusion of good and bad, of right and wrong, and when you get caught up in that illusion, one gets trapped in a systematic way of thinking. So this is what creates, okay, as it says here, this is what brings into fruition or the plans and the patterns that make up your reality. Okay? So, what you think, and that's a tricky word, what you think might be your reality, or what you've created as your reality, externally I'm talking about, you might find out was a huge mistake. All right? And it goes on. It is also, I will skip. Of course, demons also compromise their own society or pandemonium. Okay, we left off there. They are all in communication with each other, weaving their plans and patterns together in the manner of their nature. More individuals become aligned on the human level with their own demonic being and facilitates the manifestation of these plans and patterns upon the earth. Okay? So once you're able to connect it, that's what it's saying, as we were talking about earlier, once you're able to connect it, you're able to bring it now to the objective realm. Okay? You're able to take it from the subjective and bring it to the objective realm and make that spiritual connection. Okay? Well, make it, lack of a better word, spiritual, and bring it into the physical. That's what it's talking about. All right, so the demon is especially concerned with the fulfillment of personal meta needs. Meta needs are needs for nourishment and growth of being, okay, that go beyond the physiological and emotional needs of the familiar and the intellectual needs of the advocate, okay? Some essential meta needs are self-actualization, self-sufficiency, and wholeness, truth and meaning, beauty, perfection, and uniqueness, goodness, justice, aliveness, power, and freedom. These ideals may seem abstract. It will be necessary to define what they mean for you personally. Okay? So you're going to have to define them personally and to integrate them concretely into your being and life. So you have to define some of those terms just mentioned: beauty, perfection, uniqueness, goodness, justice. Not somebody else's interpretation of it. Not somebody else's definition of it. And not somebody else's explanation of it. You are the individual that has to identify what that means for you personally, okay? And then take that, as it says, and integrate that concretely or firm into your being. This is achieved over time as you bring the elements of your soul together, bringing the work into increasingly clearer focus. If you earnestly seek understanding and fulfillment of these needs, the demon will be happy and will respond. Okay? So if you earnestly seek understanding, okay, then this will become a reality. Okay? And you'll get the response and you'll get the results. All right? And we're going to finish with this section here. And then it says, by consciously adopting and emulating the qualities of the demon, the advocate can be better guide to the familiar by also drawing the demon closer. Of course, the direct invocation of the demon is the centerpiece of the work. The insights and inspirations received from the demon must then be consciously integrated and remanifested by the advocate, like iron filings in a magnetic field. The elements of your personality and all aspects of your existence will in time become ultimately aligned to the unique pattern of your demon, which is to say that they become true and integrated manifestations of you. The great work is what we call demonic integration. It begins with the invocation and oath that one can say or summons, which leads us to the next part and how to access this guardian. Okay? It's as simple as saying, may I awaken and be whole. You can do a simple exercise, take several slow, deep breaths, okay? I'll read this section for you. Here's a basic exercise, okay? And again, feel free to adjust this to any way you feel that is going to work for you. You don't need to do it exactly this way. This is just a general idea on how to do it. I'm going to leave you with a very simple exercise. You take several slow, deep, easy breaths while imagining and willing that your body is filling with power. So this is, you visualize this. Continue to do this while focusing your attention on the demonic center just above your head, is where you contact these beings or this energy. When the energy has built up into a powerful charge, look straight up into the demonic center and blow upward in one full exhalation or exhaling, sending the power via the breath to the demon or guardian. Note that this part of the operation may be enhanced by simultaneously burning some incense. Okay? While doing this, then one can say such things as, demon, who are you and what is your will? I will know the mystery of myself. Or you can create a phrase, like I said, come forth, demon, show your will to me, guardian. Whatever you need to say to activate it, it will come. Okay? Just take a slow, deep breath and relax. After a moment, you will likely feel a return flow from your demon. This is known as the anointing because it often feels like a fluid pouring down upon your head and flowing down over you. And that's true. It is thus a tradition to say, let the rain of the blessings fall when you feel that. Acknowledge that energy. Okay? Be open and receptive to the experience and mindful of it. Okay? Now, after making contact, you can, make a personal oath, okay, to your personal demon. Here's one. This is something that I personally use that's effective. And you can say something in regards to, in the light of the black sun, I affirm my demonic nature and my place in the sovereign company of Pandemonium. I sincerely and enthusiastically promise and swear that I will forever seek to further discover, cultivate, and express the mystery of myself to the further glory of the black sun and further greatness of demonkind. May my magic keep me steadfast, and so it is done. Okay, you can create your own oath. Now, I took some of this information. A good book you can get on this is The Black Ship, and the author is called Malthus. You can find it on Amazon. It'll give you good excuse me. It'll give you good concepts on how to work with this type of system. It has other rituals in there, other exercises, other practices you can do. But again, feel free to adjust and change them to your own personal needs. The invocation is important because what I want to stress on the invocation is you're taking the oath personally to yourself to not now go outside of yourself or accept anything, okay, to give you guidance other than that of what you have connected with internally. That's key. So whatever oath you create, whatever oath you come up with, it's got to connect to that essence, because that's the whole purpose of invoking that energy and working with it, because it's you. It's a representation of your superconscious, your higher self. And the greatest travesty one can do is go outside of themselves and looking for the answers and solutions to problems, situations, etc. And the last thing, always know this. Excuse me, get some water. Always know this. Sit down before you set out to do any type of ritual or magical working and really think out your intent. What is the intent and the purpose, and what is it you're trying to accomplish? Don't just go into it. Don't just force yourself to do it. Don't just do it because you want to do it. Do it because you've actually laid out the specific intent of what you're trying to accomplish. Then you will have effective results. Okay? Bottom line, you'll have effective results. Some people that practice magic or any of this type of spirituality, left-hand path, etc., and they don't get results, it's because they haven't formulated their intent correctly. That's key, because without formulating your intent correctly, you're gonna have a lot of confusion, and shit's just not gonna work out for you. Okay? And I said once before, once one is able to work this path successfully, you're not gonna need to fuck with anything else ever again. You're gonna be able to just automatically know what is just pure bullshit that you don't even want to deal with, and you're just gonna toss it to the side. You're gonna start to see things that you thought, like I said before, were productive for you. They really weren't. It just gives more clarity when you're able to connect. And this is what really, when you hear all these people in the conscious community talking about their God, but they don't really know how to explain or tap into what that really means other than just saying the shit on the surface, you will now experience it. You will actually have your own experience with it, and now you'll truly know what it's like to say that I'm God or I'm a goddess. And that's the difference between saying it and experiencing it. It's two different things, not the same thing. Okay? So, having said that, I think we'll pretty much wrap it up and leave it at that point. Hopefully that touches on a few different things to get some clarity and help. Just a couple quick things. October 8th, so Saturday, October 8th, 7:30 p.m. Sophia's Garden of Miami, Florida. Myself and Brother Ravana Noon are going to be doing a class there. Feel free to come. There's no charge for the event. There will be books, a bunch of stuff out there. Sister Sophia, who has a little vegan spot in there, will be making food. So just support the event. That's basically it. No charge to get in. That'll be on October 8th. If you want information on that, you can email me. Also, again, just give thanks to a lot of people that have called for consultations. Appreciate people being patient. Taking the time to actually reach out. We've had some productive ones, some interesting ones in the last 2 weeks. So to put that information out there again, if you are interested in a consultation, you can email me also at the same email, khnum19@gmail.com, and consultation goes up to an hour, maximum hour. It's $55, and you can pay either through PayPal or Square, because people email me all the time and ask me, how does it work? How do I go about booking one? So I'm gonna put it where everybody can hear it and see it. Basically, it can be done over the phone. It can be done FaceTime. That's entirely up to you. And basically, we talk about anything that you want to talk about. We can talk about personal spirit guides that you work with, etc. Pull down personal spirit guide, whatever it is you want to discuss, or whatever it is you want to work with. So that's the method of how it works. But again, if you're interested in doing that, you can email me at that email, khnum19@gmail.com, and once I know your availability, we can set something up. Try to, if you are interested, try to contact me a few days before, because usually it's 2 to 3 days before I can usually get to somebody, just depending on how busy I am. I kind of go in order and do it fair, but definitely appreciate everybody reaching out for that and gotten positive feedback from it, and as long as it provided help and guidance to people. And all it basically does is give you the information you need so you can do the work that you need to do for yourself. All right? That's all I got for you, and we will see you next time. Peace.